It's always nice to get a few quick wins to show the client while we distract them away from the important work that we haven't quite finished yet. So let's ease ourselves in and have a look at those first. For security reasons, we can't access certain things like contact books or the camera, but we can launch some core apps on certain actions. An example that you should already be familiar with is the mail to URI scheme. Put it in a link and the phone's mail program will open. You can do something similar with a phone number using Tell. This will bring up the phone app with the number pre-filled. Don't worry though, it won't automatically dial, which is probably a good thing. We'll have to show you this in an Android emulator as the iPhone emulator doesn't have a call app, but don't worry, it does work on the real device. You can also use the SMS scheme. It does the same thing as Tell, but this time it opens up the SMS window. We'll be using maps in our Star Tracker app, so how can we open them? Both Android and iPhone will intercept links to maps.google.com and attempt to open their native app rather than the web version, which is quite handy. Android and iPhone, if you've got Google Earth installed, will also support the Geo scheme. Now let's have a look at some forms. There are a number of little form tricks that are a really nice way to bridge that gap between web and native. In the HTML5 spec, which almost all modern mobile browsers support, there are a number of additional input types. While their desktop brethren support them as well, mobile browsers actually change the look and feel of things like on-screen keyboards and autocomplete settings depending on what you use. First up is the placeholder attribute. Because of the limited space on mobile screens, putting hint text inside a text field is a great way to save space. You can use the placeholder attribute for exactly that. We'll keep going on about small keyboards on these devices until the cows come home, but one thing that can get very annoying is autocorrect and auto-capitalize. If you're trying to enter someone's name that the dictionary doesn't recognize, autocorrect kicks in and hilarity ensues. Thankfully, you can turn these off on fields that are going to cause problems. So far, we've just used the input type equals text, which brings up a standard keyboard. If we mess around with the type attribute on the input field though, we can get some interesting results. By setting the type to number, the keyboard will show a row of numbers at the top. If we set it to email, the keyboard will show a little @ symbol to speed up entry. Of course, not every browser supports these new features, but thankfully, if they don't understand the type, they'll just display a regular input field with a regular keyboard. Graceful degradation for the win.